And now what follows is pretty much a public service announcement here on talkSPORT Extra Time, because it's going to be a long weekend for many of us. We're not meant to be socialising, we're not going out and about, we are going to be responsible, and even though it's going to be a lovely Easter weekend, we hope many of us won't have the chance to enjoy it in a park or walk along the river or whatever. There'll be no fun fairs, for example, but you can have your very own cinema party in your own front room, all on Freeview, courtesy of me, Paul Ross, and Van Connor, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 days this morning, Van. Good morning. So we'll do it in 2 chunks. Good morning, and how the devil are you, Van?
I'm all the better for picking out movies with you, Mr. Ross.
Okay, and you're going to start with an absolute 80s cracker for us. It's a kind of, almost a bank holiday staple. You've gone for, and it's BBC One, it's 6:40 tonight, and it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a big weekend for Indiana Jones as well, I think, isn't it?
It is. We've got all of the Indiana Jones movies, all 4 of them coming our way over the bank holiday weekend, starting on Friday night, continuing through Saturday, Sunday, and culminating with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull on Monday, on Bank Holiday Monday.
Okie dokie, and we've got a trailer, have you, or a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark for us?
I've got a classic scene for you of Indy being enlisted by the US government to head off the Nazis in their pursuit of the Ark of the Covenant.
It's Indiana Jones, whip crack away.
Good God.
Yes, that's just what the Hebrews thought.
Now what's that supposed to be coming out of there?
Lightning. Fire. Power of God or something.
Beginning to understand Hitler's interest in this.
Oh, yes. The Bible speaks of the Ark leveling mountains and laying waste to entire regions. An army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
I mean, it's such a great film, that still, isn't it? And it's one of those films that doesn't date, because, of course, it was all set in the 30s and 40s. A brilliant choice, Van. You must be... I mean, Indiana Jones is absolutely an iconic creation, and it's George Lucas again, isn't it, Mr. Star Wars?
It is. It's the crossover movie, but it's a crossover movie franchise between George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. It's got kind of the best of both. Yeah. And it's just, like you say, that great harkening back to the serials of the 30s and the 40s, but played with that, what would become the Amblin sensibility. The 80s, it is timeless, and it, like you say, it holds up. It absolutely works. There's nothing quite like it.
What a way to start Bank Holiday weekend. It's 6:40 tonight. It's BBC One. I've gone old school. It's a cracker, this one of my absolute favourite films of all time. It's 9 o'clock. It's tonight on the Sony Movies Classic, which again is Freeview. It dates from 1951. What could go wrong? Humphrey Bogart, Katharine Hepburn, Robert Morley, John Huston directing it. One bogey, his only Oscar. It's The Amazing African Queen, based on a novel by the man who created Hornblower, C.S. Forrester. I've got the trailer, and it not only created a brilliant kind of new career for Humphrey Bogart, it also spawned a kind of making of the movie film I'll tell you about in a moment. I'm sure you've heard of it, White Hunter, Black Heart. But let's have the trailer, folks. It's 9 o'clock tonight, set in the First World War on Sony Movies Classic, African Queen.
You promised you'd go down the river.
There's death a dozen times over down the river.
You promised.
Well, I'm taking my promise back.
Filmed in the treacherous wilds of Africa and directed by John Huston, winner of a double Oscar award for The Treasure of Sierra Madre. Against a savagely thrilling background, 2 people live a reckless adventure. Charlie Allman, lazy, gin-swilling, no better than he should be. And Rosie, straight-laced Rosie Sayers, who learns about life, all about it.
Well, I ain't sorry no more, you crazy, psalm-singing, skinny old maid.
Oh dear, a great film this though, isn't it? I mean, it's very much of its time, but it's a lovely film, this.
This is just a rollicking ride of old-fashioned cinematic taste. I had a poster for this on my wall at uni, I think.
Oh, well, in fact, there was I've never seen it, but there was apparently a sequel to it made for American television with Warren Oates, that great actor in the Bogart part. They were hoping for a series. It didn't get picked up, but I'm going to have to try and track that down at some stage. So that, for me, is my biggie for today. 9 o'clock, Sony Movies Classic, and you're going into outer space for your choice for tomorrow, Van. Is that right? Bit of Star Trek.
I am. Do you know, I'm very surprised, actually, that this film turned out to be anywhere near as good as it did, because when it was being made, it just sounded like the worst idea ever. But it's J.J. Abrams' 2009 reboot of Star Trek. It's a concept that had been doing the rounds in Hollywood for a long time. Like, Paramount had been trying since, I think, about the late 80s to do a Starfleet Academy movie that sort of sat in the middle of all the William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy Nimoy movies. And J.J. Abrams not only went and did that eventually, but he managed to spin it into a sort of prequel, sequel, sidequel hybrid that takes place in an alternative timeline, if you will, in which we get a young, sexy, cool version of, the Shatner era, original series Star Trek cast, this time on a mission to save the Earth from a vengeful Romulan from the future with the help of alternative timeline original flavor Leonard Nimoy Spock. And I've got a clip for you of a young, rebellious, way more Han Solo-like Captain Kirk being recruited for Starfleet by the Captain Pike character, the Christopher Hunter character from the original pilot in the 60s.
Okay, it's tomorrow night rather, 9 o'clock on Channel 4. It's Star Trek. Beam us up.
Enlist in Starfleet.
You guys must be way down on your recruiting quota for the month.
Well, if you're half the man your father was, Jim, Starfleet could use you. You can be an officer in 4 years. You can have your own ship in 8. You understand what the Federation is, don't you? It's important. It's a peacekeeping and humanitarian armada.
We done?
I'm done. Riverside Shipyard. Shuttle for new recruits leaves tomorrow, 0800. Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including your mother's and yours. I dare you to do better.
Wow, in fact, that's got a big thumbs up from our producer, Sam Stevens, because this is how you do a reboot or a spin-off or a sequel or whatever, a side call, and do it really well. That's a great call. Thank you very much for that one, Van. So that's 9 o'clock tomorrow night on Channel 4, Star Trek. I'm going old school Bond. It was the first Roger Moore James Bond. I know it's not your favourite Bond. It is my favourite Roger Moore film, partly because... Come here while I tell you. It's ITV4. It's tomorrow night, 6:40. It is, of course, Live and Let Die from 1973. I mean, this film, Van, cost around $7 million. It made $161 million. And they were nervous about the reboot. They didn't need to be. It was the first film, and I was only about 13 or 14, that I took a girl to, my girlfriend. And I went with my mate Colin, and he took his then girlfriend, and they knew each other. And... nothing occurred in the cinema because we were both hypnotised by the film, and shortly afterwards we were dumped by both of those girls, I think because of our lack of Bond-type action in the cinema. Happy days, great memories. I've got the trailer, directed by Guy Hamilton, Roger Moore, of course Jane Seymour, and Yaphet Kotto as not one but two bad guys stirring some voodoo. It's Live and Let Die.
Roger Moore is James Bond 007 in Ian Fleming's Live and Let Die.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
Names is for tombstones, baby. Waste him, now.
James Bond is back, and wherever he drops in, it can mean only one thing.
Trouble!
This is the Bond adventure with more excitement, more action, more danger, and more. Much more. Roger Moore as James Bond 007.
Great film, this. Oh, you prefer The Spy Who Loved Me, though, I think, don't you?
That's definitely my preferred Roger Moore flavour is The Spy Who Loved Me, but also that movie does edge ahead for me because it has Barbara Bach, my favourite Bond girl. But I can see why you'd love this. This was the blaxploitation Bond, wasn't
Absolutely,
it?
brilliantly done. And also, it was a different kind of humour. It got a bit cliched and caricatural, Roger Moore, towards the end, but this is an absolute belter. And, of course, the theme song by Paul McCartney and Wings was Oscar nominated. It was beaten by, can you remember? Do you want to take a guess from 1973?
I could not possibly guess,
okay.
But I sense you're going to blow my mind.
It was Barbara Streisand and The Way We Were. So if you're going to lose out to a song, you might as well lose out to that. It's an absolute cracker. It's 6:40 tomorrow evening, ITV4, Live and Let Die. Coming up, well, Van's got a spy film of his own to recommend. He's also got a couple of other films we're going to be talking about, including my Western of the weekend. Details on that later in the programme. More from me and Van Connor in just a bit.
talkSPORT breakfast in part.
It is talkSPORT Extra Time. It's me, Paul Ross, and now back to the movies and the movies in your front room. Earlier on in the programme, me and Van Connor, and Van's still with us, recommended 4 films for you. We gave you the option of Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Trek, African Queens on tonight, 9 o'clock Sony Movies, or tomorrow, the Bond film for the weekend for me, Live and Let Die, ITV4. We've got 4 other recommendations for you now. Van Connor's back with us as well. And Van, where would you like to start? You want to go a bit Transformery, I think, don't you?
I do, and again, as with Star Trek, it's another film that just sounded like a terrible idea when they were making it, and then it opened, it turned out to be absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to go with, and I never thought I'd say this out loud, a Transformers movie, and say it's Bumblebee, the movie from Kubo and the Two Strings director Travis Knight, that basically takes the Transformers in an Amblin Spielberg-friendly direction. You've got one wayward Transformer lost on Earth in the 1980s, has to team up with a teenage girl and fight off the Decepticons to save both the human race and his own Transformers Autobot race as well. I've got a clip for you of the US military, led by John Cena, because that's how fun this is, catching up with our wayward Transformer and his human companion.
And it's Sunday afternoon, Easter Sunday, it's Channel 4, it's 5:45. Let's have a bit of Bumblebee.
Get out and move away from the vehicle.
Stay cool, B.
What's going on? Hey!
Come on!
Stop me! Let go of me!
Weapons now! Take it down!
Run!
No, don't run! Do not run! She ran.
That's a great film, very charming. Actually, I took my oldest grandson to see it. He absolutely loved it. I've got a rather different recommendation. It's on so late, and it has to be on very late, on Film 4. It's actually Easter Monday morning. It's Film 4, Sunday night, Monday morning, 1:05 a.m. It's Seth Family Guy MacFarlane. I warn you, folks, it's very funny, but very filthy. It's called A Million Ways to Die in the West. It is my cowboy recommendation for the weekend, but this is a rather different kind of cowboy film, is it not, Van Connor? Did you enjoy this? I thought it was hysterical, but really full on, really fierce.
I thought it was a really great take on doing the Western comedy, to take it in almost Seinfeld-like observational comedy direction. There's a lot of great fun had from simply mining 21st century views on the day-to-day reality and minutiae of living in the West, like the idea that, you know, there literally are a million things here that can kill you. And Seth MacFarlane, perfect for that kind of delivery, I thought.
I do warn you, though, folks, it should come with a XX rating for the language and some of the scenarios, but here's a bit of trailer action from A Million Ways to Die in the West, 1:05 in the morning, Easter Monday morning, but I'm pretending it's late Easter Sunday night. Enjoy this.
The American West is a terrible place in time. Everything out here that's not you wants to kill you. Angry drunk people, hungry animals, outlaws. Oh, the doctor.
I couldn't save her.
She had a splinter. Doc, what the hell were you supposed to do?
I would like to welcome a new member to our community.
Welcome to our town.
What's with this fair?
Every year, people die.
Really?
Everybody hold still.
People die at the fair.
People die at the fair.
Somebody in this town is going to die.
Please don't shoot us on sex night.
There are literally a million ways to die in the West. That's 1:05 a.m. Sunday night into Monday morning on Film 4. And I'm going to go, well, only 12 hours later, Easter Monday afternoon, Van, from 1953. This got 13 Academy Award nominations, won 8 of them, including, for his comeback, Frank Sinatra got his Oscar for this film. It is, of course, From Here to Eternity. Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, Ernest Borgnine is the horrible bad guy, Deborah Kerr and Donna Reed, based on the James Jones novel. This is a bit of cinema history, though, isn't it? Because it was about the most sexually explicit film as far as kind of snogging marital affairs were at the time. It's that famous scene when Burt Lancaster and Deborah Kerr have a kind of long, passionate kiss on the beach as the tide rolls in on them. Very symbolical.
This absolutely got a lot of people very hot under the collar way back in the day.
And in fact, the Army refused to take a credit for helping on it, and the Navy banned it from being shown on Navy bases for years. It looks much more harmless these days, but it is still quite a shocking film, particularly the kind of relationship between Frank Sinatra's character and Ernest Borgnine's character. Rather than play you the trailer, I'm going to play you the song Frank Sinatra recorded called From Here to Eternity, and it gives the writer of the novel, James Jones, a credit. Award for Best Actor Frank got Best Supporting Actor. He gave the shortest thank you speech on record because they were running over. He literally just said, thank you, Van. But he said afterwards he thought either Burt Lancaster or Montgomery Clift should have got it. But, of course, because they were both nominated, it split the Oscar votes. So it's a great film, this. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. It's in black and white, of course. Easter Monday afternoon, 1:15. And I've mentioned a secret agent film already. I gave you Live and Let Die, Saturday afternoon. It's 6:40 ITV4. You want to go for a rather more updated British Secret Service film. It's Kingsman. Tell us about that, Van. I love this movie, Easter Monday.
Yeah, so Easter Monday, this is, a good, solid evening action adventure, I would say. So based on the comic book, The Secret Service, by Mark Miller, written and directed for the screen by Matthew Vaughn, who gave us Layer Cake, and also co-written by Jane Goldman. And this is the story of Eggsy, who's a sort of, a sort of cliched, very cartoonish hoodie type, who gets recruited by the ultimate sort of, a John Steed, James Bond style, Savile Row era kind of super spy with a sort of 60s bent, and tasked on a mission after having been trained in the ways of being a gentleman to take on the world-dominating plot of a communications titan played by Samuel L. Jackson. I've got a clip for you of Eggsy getting rostered up by Colin Firth.
It's Channel 4. It's Easter Monday evening. It's 9 p.m. Enjoy this.
Did you see the film Trading Places?
No.
How about Nikita? Pretty Woman? All right. My point is that the lack of a silver spoon has set you on a certain path, but you needn't stay on it. If you're prepared to adapt and learn, you can transform.
Oh, like in My Fair Lady?
Oh, you're full of surprises. Yes, like My Fair Lady. Only in this case, I'm offering you the opportunity to become a Kingsman.
A tailor?
A Kingsman agent.
Like a spy?
Of sorts. Interested?
You think I've got anything to lose?
Cracking film, this, and I want to declare an interest. You mentioned it was co-written by Jane Goldman, of course, my sister-in-law, Jonathan's wife, and it is a great film, this, isn't it? Great fun film for Easter Monday.
It's an absolutely brilliant romp. But I say it's a bit OTT, it's very, very foul-mouthed and dark-hearted, but it is very funny, very likeable. The casting is superb, and it's just directed with such style and energy and wit by Matthew Vaughn, and Jane Goldman's script as well. Really, really biting. Just a great time to have. And also, Mark Hamill in there in a small role.
Brilliant stuff. So it's Kingsman, The Secret Service. That's Bank Holiday Monday, 9 o'clock, Channel 4. Huge thanks as ever to our mate Van Connell. Now, before I let you go, we've been asking people on the show this morning, and I've kind of chosen one, I suspect, with things like Live and Let Die. What would be your ultimate bank holiday weekend movie, would you say? I mean, a lot of people have suggested already things like The Great Escape. What for you would sum up a kind of, maybe a wet bank holiday Monday afternoon film?
I've got the perfect one. It's one I go to time and time again. It's a bit unorthodox, but I really love sitting down. I like an epic, I like a sci-fi movie, and I like an adventure. So I found the perfect all-rounder for me on a bank holiday afternoon is Roland Emmerich's 1994 Stargate movie with Kurt Russell.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Okay, that's on the list as well then. That was Van Connor. And where can we find your stuff, Van? Remind us.
You can find me and Bex with our 7-day guide to everything movies every Friday morning on podcast platforms on the Offscreen Show.
Later on today then, we'll do it all again next week with Van Connor here on talkSPORT.